Hey, impressive chessers. This is NM Chess to Impress, also known as NM Craig Clawwater, with another video for you guys. And this one is gonna be a possibly controversial video, but I do think it is one of my philosophies that this philosophy of how to play chess is one of the best ways to get better at chess, which is embracing the draw. But not really. Because I think if you embrace getting equal positions against your opponents, you will eventually be able to beat them in these equal positions, and that will give you the skills to go up the ranks more than tricking somebody out of the opening, finding some like tricky line that maybe isn't that great if they know the right moves, but a lot of times they don't. Then you trick them and you win and you feel all good about yourself. But overall, how much better at chess are you getting when you do that? Not as much as actually winning a hard fought game where both sides are trying to play the best moves, keeping the tension, and going from there. And to illustrate this, I'm going to be going over two games. One game was 5 years before the other one. And as you'll see, the first game, I'm going to be playing very aggressive and risky chess because I was so afraid of getting an equal position that I gave up playing my best defense, the French defense, in favor of the Sicilian Dragon, as we'll see. So the Sicilian Dragon starts out with c5. It's the Sicilian defense. And right here is the dragon variation, which is one of the most aggressive variations. The reason it's called the dragon, by the way, is people think that this pawn structure looks kind of like a dragon and definitely like the constellation named after a dragon. Especially when you put the bishop here where it's about to go, that's the fire breathing part of the dragon. So this is a very aggressive line and not a bad line. I'm not saying that nobody should play the dragon. I'm just saying you don't have to play the dragon to go for a win. So let's just go through some of the moves. This is the old line that we played back then. And it's a really aggressive line. But as you'll see, let's put this eval on actually. You will see that this line is not looking so hot for black after. Yeah, so white has like almost a 1 point advantage here according to the computer. And here we go. So he tries to trade off bishops. This is all amazingly opening theory actually still that we both knew. This move surprised my opponent. Although this position is actually, like I said, already kind of good for white. All right, until he played that. And now I should have got some good play here. I should have gone queen to b4. But instead, I took the knight. He took back. Probably should have taken back with the e-pawn, as you can see from the eval bar. And I felt compelled to sacrifice my rook. Sack the rook! So, this is how I played back then. Very aggressively. And in this one game, it worked, but we're going to go over why I don't think you should play this way, to be honest. And also how my opponent could have punished me for this unsound sacrifice. All right, so now I played the super crazy knight to d5 move. So you guys should pause your videos, figure out how you would have played this for white. All right, so let's flip the board for you guys. hopefully you did not play what my opponent played, which was he thought f4 would be a sneaky way to defend against my attack. But I took. He took. I took right here. He actually resigned to this position because hopefully you guys can see what I would play here. Do not take the queen. That would be very bad because I'm down points. You don't want to trade material. He would just simply take it back, but simply rook to b8, and the queen is going to be gone for... They can block it and lose just a pawn for it, but this is a very good position for black, and black is winning here. So that's why my opponent resigned. All right, but... So I got lucky that game because that's what happened. But as you can see from the score, this position right here is tricky, but actually very good for white. All right, so the move is not take with the pawn because same problem. Boom. And boom. So that is going to cost white his queen. And so that's not the way to keep the advantage. All right, so we have knight to d5 here. The way to keep the advantage is to take with the queen, actually. My opponent actually did see this, but they thought they were just totally dead after this move because the bishop is cutting off the king from running out. It's also blocking this pawn from moving. And next move, I'm going to checkmate him with queen to a1. But actually, if white just looked a little bit further, they would have noticed that king to d1 saves the day for two reasons, actually. One, they can run out here. But also, if I check, they could also consider blocking my check. And so this position after king to d1 is actually totally winning for white. Still a little tricky, but white should go on to win the game. All right, so I got lucky that game, but there's plenty of games where that playing style did not work, and I lost the game just because I was so afraid of getting a equal position and supposedly drawing. So 5 years after this game happened, let's go back to the beginning. Let's reflip this board. And this time I played my trusty French defense. All right, so they play the main move, which is taking over the center for the second. But boom, black attacks back in the center. Knight to c3 to guard the pawn. This is actually the main move. And bishop to b4. We're going to put an interesting move. This is called the winnower variation. It's one of the most aggressive lines in any opening. Like almost as aggressive. It could be almost as aggressive as the dragon, actually, in some lines. Except white was not having it. So this is why I did not play the French 5 years before this game happened. Because white always has the opportunity to go into some kind of exchange variation like this. And I used to be very afraid of this because it's probably, well, as you can see from the computer evaluation, it is totally equal here. And let's go to the point of the game where 5 years ago, Craig would have been very, very worried about having an only equal position against my opponent. All right, boom. Here, let's go through some moves quickly. We're doing some rerouting of the pieces. Now, the whole point of that, by the way, was I want to take advantage of this e4 square, which is an outpost, because no white pawn will ever be able to kick it away. And by the way, their bishop is a dark square bishop. So I was feeling pretty good, but still, like I said, we got to guard our pawn. All right, so we got this position right here, and it is, as you can see again, an equal position. Actually, the computer says white is ahead by 0.04, but yeah, it's basically an equal position here. And like I said, 5 years before this game happened, I would have been deathly afraid of having this equal position against my opponent was almost 400 points lower rated than me. So if it was a draw, I would have lost a good amount of rating points from that one game. But the thing is, always, a draw one game is not going to kill you, but losing to somebody 400 points lower rated than you, that is where the rating goes really far down. And that's when it's hard to recover from. So it's always easier to win from an equal position than a lost one. Although I did just show you where I tricked my opponent. That doesn't happen all the time. A lot of the times I would lose to, back when these games were happening, one of my problems was I could beat anyone, but I could also lose to anyone. And nowadays, because I play a more solid style, I do have more draws in my game, but also my results are way more consistent now because I'm taking less risks, and you start to realize that if you are really getting better at chess, which is what we're all trying to do, then being able to win from from equal games is a really good skill to have. That's probably the best skill to have when trying to increase your rating. All right, so we have this position here, and this is very typical of what happens when you are just okay with having an equal position, especially against a lower rated opponent. They might get a little bit hasty and play a move like they did in the game. So they play h4. Now, it's not a bad move. As you can see, it's just a little bit better for black, but it's really starting to go in the wrong direction for white, and it's going to give black chances to take over the game. So I take out the pawn, and now this is, again, a little bit of a mess up, a little bit of a slip. And now I offer a queen trade, giving back the pawn, which was actually the best move. So he gets his pawn back, but in the meantime, these pawns over here are extremely weak, and watch what happens here. So he gets rid of one of his weaknesses. But now, by the way, this pawn is an isolated pawn. It is a pass pawn, so we don't want it to get out of control, but we'll bring our king over with our knights. And here we go. So we are teaming up on this pawn. He checks. Bring my king forward, and all right, we're about to win a pawn and trade off. So there we go. We won a pawn. And so now from that equal position, we have a pawn advantage now. And here we go. Let's dance my knights around. I'm really trying to... Here we go. This was a good move because it hits the knight, hits the bishop. That means one of those pieces is going to get traded. And now he will not be able to stop my h-pawn for too long. So he needs his bishop right here, stopping that, or really anywhere on this diagonal, stopping that pawn. Now I win another pawn because his bishop's distracted over there. let's see if you guys can figure out the last move of the game. Right after this move, my opponent resigned. And that move was knight to f4 because that blocks the bishop from patrolling that h2 square, which means this pawn has a free way to becoming a queen. So hopefully you guys can try to solidify your games. Not all your games have to be solid like this, but it's mostly just not being afraid of getting an equal position, especially when you're black. Because when you get an equal position from black, that's when you can really start to actually try to win from those equal positions. Whereas if you're always going for an advantage with black, that probably means you're opening yourself up to some really dangerous things that white can do to get maybe possibly a winning or a really good position against you. All right, hope that helps. And if you could, please like and subscribe this video. And I will also put a link to my latest chess blog that goes over this, where you can interactively go over these moves. Until then, keep on playing some impressive chess. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.